Welcome to Minding My Business. I hope you're having a blessed up day. And if you're not, hopefully today's episode is going to bless you up. This was a show dedicated to celebrating people that have created a lane for themselves and are doing extraordinary things in the world. So,
All
Starr
right, cool.
Hawkins, aka Baby Mama Fit, she has made non alcoholism fun and cool. And you would never even know, but you have just created your lane for everybody else and mostly for yourself. She runs online training programs Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Hot Pilates, which is, I took your class, absolutely amazing. You set a standard that I've
Yeah.
taken it in other places, and I'm like, nope, nope, not working out. Barry's Boot Camp, you teach at Barry's, and congratulations, you are now running, you are the teacher of teachers running Pilates teacher training, and congratulations also in your pregnancy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm giving belly today.
Literally baby mama, right?
Yeah,
Um,
the rebrand is back. Now I'm doing all the mom stuff.
So let's go back. And out of all the careers you could have chosen, because this is highlighting the human being behind before the roles, tasks, and the responsibilities. And you could have chosen any career path, but you chose the path of fitness. Tell us what got you into training and Pilates and just helping people.
Well, I mean, I started in retail. I've always liked people. I've always been like super extrovert. I'm a Gemini, so I think like I've always had a bunch of friends, and I've always just kind of been like the class clown. My mother struggled with alcoholism when I
Mm.
was growing up, so I think that was a way for me to be able to like go to other people's houses. I got along with their parents. I got along, like, I was just very much like a chameleon. Like I could just blend in with any environment and always bring like a different energy. So once I started working, I tried like some waitressing. I wasn't really good at it. Because I like to talk too much. And then I started getting into retail, and I really like customer service, and I think people, and I even like that more than the actual, like, selling. And I never did well at commission jobs. I always did better at like boutique things and just having clients. And um, I didn't like that extra added pressure because I just really enjoyed connecting with people. And then when I did get sober, I needed I needed that outlet, and fitness kind of became that. And then, a lot of people would say, you should be a trainer, or you're so fun. And I was a desker at Barry's, and I would just like work the desk so I could take free classes. And they'd be like, when are you going to start teaching? Because you're just so fun and we enjoy being around you. And I tried a couple times. I tried out for Barry's. I didn't get it. And then I had some breaks later on where I was able to take a Pilates training. And I mean, you're basically selling a lifestyle. So at the end of the day, it's like a lot of customer service. And people buy into you, whether it's teaching a class or it's a one-on-one. I think people really fall in love with the people that they're working with.
That's amazing. And so like now getting back to like fast forwarding, I mean, anybody that comes in your presence and your energy, like you really are, you really are who you are online, as well as like when people get to meet you, the experience of, I've only taken your hot Pilates class. I took it several times, but like your energy, the way that you show up, and I'm sure you have days where you just don't feel like it, and whatever, you know how to really do a great job compartmentalizing and like really fully showing up for your classes, for your students, for people. And that's really admirable. Are there any tools or like your daily rituals or your habits that are non-negotiables that really help you operate in that state of energy?
Definitely. I mean, I can honestly tell you, and I actually appreciate you saying that to me, because I remember times when I had no control over
Mm.
my emotions, or no control over, if something happened. I've always been really good at showing up, like I would show up to work hungover, or I would show up, sick or whatever. But there were moments in my life where I could honestly look back and say, like, I had no control over my emotions. And, I wouldn't be able to necessarily show up for people the way I should, or, you know, get the job done and deal with it later. I think I'm at a point now where, you know, yeah, I do a daily inventory of myself pretty much. You know, I need to have like certain things in order to feel good. So I need to have sleep. I need to have a balanced meal. Sometimes I get hangry, so I like do my checklist. You know, am I hungry? Hangry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? So I go through all of my checklists with that. But you know, fitness is a big thing for me. So I do actually enjoy working out. And in the beginning, it almost became another addiction. So when I didn't work out, I would automatically have a crappy day. And now for me, it's not about that because I know, like, you know, also I'm getting old. So things hurt. So I know I
Easy
can't work out every
girl.
day. Right. I'm like, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. The second pregnancy, I've been having a pelvic girdle pain. But um, so I know that I can't always just work things off, right? I can't just always work it out, but I can do other things that make me feel good. You know, I can I don't know. I enjoy making content. I enjoy being creative. I enjoy, you know, reaching out to people. I enjoy helping people. I think my job, in a lot of ways, because I am a trainer and because I get to help people every day, I think that also helps me. Because, like, let's say I am going to a class and I don't want to teach it. And a lot of times that 2 p.m. class that you came to, it's 2 p.m. and I've probably been up since 6. So, you know, and I know it's going to be hot as shit.
It's
And I'm
hot
like,
in there. My
yeah.
phone shuts off on me in there. Yeah,
So I know
that's
it's
how hot.
hot. It's 2 o'clock. I'm tired. I'm probably, you know, you can't really eat too much because you'll throw up if you go into that setting, you know. And sometimes I don't want to go, but then I'll see your face or I'll see somebody else's face and they'll just come up to me and they'll be like, oh my God, I almost didn't make it today. I'm so happy I'm here. Or, you know, and it kind of like it turns something in you. And then, you
Yeah.
know, maybe it doesn't. And, you know, I'm still kind of in a bad mood, but I use that energy to really push people. You know, like maybe that class is a little bit harder. People say sometimes they're like, what's wrong with you? It was really hard today, you know, in a good way. But
Mhm.
sometimes, you know, then I get through the class and then I got through it and I still feel like I did something. So I do a lot
Mhm.
of like personal inventory. I make sure, you know, I check all my boxes. If I know I'm not going to sleep well, or if I know I'm going to be out late at night, then I don't schedule a crazy day the next day because I know I'm going to be in a bad mood. Or I'll let people know ahead of time, me, usually my husband, like, hey, I didn't sleep that well, like if I'm cranky, my bad, you know. So
Mhm.
I just like keep track of like where my moods are. That's so much easier when you're sober. Because when I was like not sober, I would just be a hot mess and I
Yeah.
just lash out on people and not know where it came from and not know why. And you know, being sober, you kind of know where this stuff comes from. I mean, even with this pregnancy, I've been super hormonal. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yo, am I making up shit in my head? What's going on? You know, and I'm like, but I know it is that, you know. So I'm like,
Mhm.
well, let's take a step back. Let's write down how I'm feeling. Let's you know, maybe I don't need to go outside today. Maybe I need to take some me time, and whatever that looks like for you. For me, it's like Netflix or
Mhm.
laying with my dogs. I love my dogs, you know, being in my underwear, doing skincare. I love skincare, you know, like
Yeah.
that might be more my thing as opposed to, you know, trying to get 100 things done in one day. So I just try to check in with myself like on the daily. I also like have lots of gratitude every day. You know, I try to take moments where I pause and just thank you know, my higher power for putting me where I am.
That's I mean, I'll see this too, like, because sometimes, a lot of times when people come to these classes, like well, the good thing is you just turn up the music so nobody can dump anything on you. And it is like fun in there. You've spent time on that playlist, like, let me tell you. And I know you have a playlist too. I saw on your Instagram, which I think is super thoughtful. One thing to understand is number one, congratulations on that transition. It takes real strength and courage, number one, to have self-awareness and have like that daily inventory that you have. And also, like, coming from a space of addiction myself, like, really, I think some of the strongest, most courageous people are the ones that have been able to be like, you know what, I'm not going to numb myself anymore. And you've been able to shapeshift that and completely transmute it into something so constructive and creative, and is helping so many people because you've really created strong community and a culture, I believe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's nice, you know. I mean, we live in a time that's different. I grew up, and I'm sure you can relate to this. We grew up thinking like you had to go to school to be something. You have to be a doctor, you have to be a professional or a lawyer, or, a lot of my friends became like teachers and stuff. And those are great careers. But I live in this time now where I can almost like invent how I want my life to be, like I can create content. Now I'm doing a whole rebrand where it's all like mom content. Like, I was feeling mocktails for a while and I saw that people were like starting to bring those out and there was becoming a culture of that. And then I was able to get creative with that. And, I don't know what's in my future, maybe like, an agency or something. Cause I do love being creative and I love trying new things with that. And I think that's why fitness works for me, because you have so many different ways. I mean, to do fitness. I don't teach one thing. I teach like seven, so when I get bored with one, I'm hopping on the next, so I'm very fortunate that I can just like kind of, you know, do what I want and work when I want. And it's really been cool, because I even have friends now who've done their careers and have been through college and had successful careers. And then they're like, well, maybe I want to be a Pilates teacher. And I'm like, why not?
Well, because
you
you
know?
you make it so fun and you make it so easy. And I always say, like, if somebody can make it so simple, so fun, and so easy, you know that they're a pro, because there's a lot of back end work that a lot of people don't see. And like, speaking of like knowing when it's time to pivot or it's time to be like, you know what, I'm going to change my identity and I'm going to, I mean, you got pregnant, so there you go. You don't really have a choice. But like, well, you do have a choice. That's always a choice. But you
Yes,
choose your,
women have choices. We have
yeah,
choices. It's
we
our
have,
body.
exactly. And you're
Put that
choosing,
out
right?
there.
You're choosing to, um you're pivoting. So you get to, like, the cool thing about being a human being is we get to like recreate ourselves and create new identities, and we become chameleons. You mentioned, like, I think there's a word called shape shifting, like shape shifting
Yes.
into something new. How do you personally know when it's time to pivot, and to go a different direction, whether it being in your business, in your life, in your relationships, whether it being friendship, or I know you're happily married, but like, when did you know like it was time to like pivot or start something new, or to stop something that maybe you've done for so long that became a part of your identity?
So I think that's a little bit, that can be difficult for me because I am very consistent, but I do get bored quickly, right? So even with like friendships and relationships, I can get not necessarily bored with them, but I don't mind to take a break and like nothing's to change between us. But maybe I like hang out with you a bunch and then I'm on to the next thing and and then we're back again and nothing ever changed. You know what I mean? It's just like I think that's the Gemini in me. I'm very like, you know, I can handle a bunch of different things at one time.
Mm.
Um, and I think in my business, it is good when you're creative. However, I've noticed like, with other things, I wish I did have more of that, like you stick things out all the way through type of vibe, like I wish, like even with my Instagram, like if you look at my Instagram, it's like a ton of different categories. Like I do funny, I do mocktails, I do fitness, I do this and that. And I've noticed like with certain profiles, maybe my profile hasn't grown as fast as some other profiles, but I think it's because I am kind of all over the place. Brands want to see like the one person that does the one thing, and I'm not the one thing, and I'm not like and even in relationships. So I think like when I get bored, I either need to create something new in this relationship or I look for something new, like,
Mm.
and not in the sense like I'm going to leave my husband tomorrow, but like, if stuff's not working between us, I'm like avid about like, yo, let's go do couples therapy, or hey, we
Mhm.
need to take a break, or hey, like we need to go see your daughter, or, like I'm about finding the solution, for sure. And then if it's like with friendships, like, you know, I think that friendships also take work too. And there's been times where I'm like not vibing with my friends and I just tell them straight. I mean, that's the one thing about me is I'm very like open. I'm like, hey, I don't like that you're not inviting me out. Uh, so I don't know. And then I try to like, try to connect with those people too and keep those relationships alive. So I don't
Mm.
know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did.
Very all over the place.
Well, I don't
I
think
do
so. I
shift.
think I mean, here's where I see happening. I think multi-passionate people, you're creating a lane for yourself. That's why I wanted to start this podcast, like minding my business, because it's not conventional. When you create a lane for yourself, like Tesla, nobody's gonna get it because you created it, and then all of a sudden everybody catches up. And like, some of the most like legendary people, nobody understood them until like look at Harry Potter, right? Lady was what, maybe like late 30s or early 40s, and she's like the number one. She became, I think, the first female self billionaire, and nobody got her. She got rejected like 16 times because she wasn't conventional. She
Right.
wasn't what one directional.
Right.
And that's why you're here.
Yeah. I also, what I will say is I do also set a lot of like boundaries too, healthy
Mhm,
boundaries. If things aren't right, I move myself from the equation. I think boundaries are big in friendships, relationships, and in business. Being
mhm.
very clear with people's expectations, even like with when you're doing business with people, just like knowing exactly, because I'm not the best at like reading things. Sometimes I need to, actually have a phone conversation with people and know exactly what they want from me, so that way I can deliver it. That way there's no like, you know, miscommunication on those ends. But yeah, I mean, I just stay busy. I just keep it. I'm like in it. I like being in on everything, and then I
I
like
see
to be
like,
myself.
yeah. Well, you're around so many people. I also see like, I mean, I've never seen anybody teach the way that you teach, because you, as you mentioned, like you are the brand. So the way that you teach, you've learned a framework, but then you've extended that into something else. And now you're running your own teacher trainings and
Yeah,
creating a lane for yourself. I think that's amazing. I believe time's going to catch up to you. That's what I see happening, but
I hope
you know,
so. I hope so.
I'm
I
I'm
just I'm letting people
prophesizing
know if
over.
you. Oh, thank you. I'm letting people know though, if you are doing one thing and you're not in seven different lanes, like,
Yeah.
consistency. At the end of the day, it's consistency. Even with the mocktail stuff, I need to keep posting it, and
Hmm.
I'm trying to hit all those, things that I'm doing, and just keep it consistent. Even with the fitness stuff, I need to constantly post fitness. If it's, I need to constantly work at it. So like, yeah, I taught classes, I teach classes. The next thing people always ask me, are you going to do a studio? I'm like, I don't necessarily want to do a studio. I don't want to work all the time. But like the teacher training, I'm actually really enjoying teaching. So I think like, who knows? Maybe that's something that I lean into more.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for you. That sounds amazing. I know, I mean, listen, you guys are interested in teacher training. You just started this one, but you said you're going to have ongoing for those that will be interested,
Yeah, I
correct?
hope so. I hope so. Week one is down. We've got week two coming this week. And I mean, I just imagine it getting better and better every time. So we have 32
Okay.
people. Two people are from Saudi that are taking it because it's on Zoom too, which is really,
Wow.
you imagine
Oh,
like reaching
amazing.
that far.
Yeah, that's
So cool.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
How many
and
weeks
Mimi's
is
the one.
that?
It's 4 weekends. And I'm doing it through Mimi Yoga. So shout out them because they clearly like believe in me and believe in my brand. And they wanted
Mm.
to do something with me leading it. So it's really
That's
cool.
amazing. Speaking
Yeah.
speaking of inner circles and community, and I know I've been watching Mimi stuff too. She's got a really powerful story, and there's so much more behind what people see. And like, what are some of your core values when it comes to people that you really let into your heart and into your inner world versus just the social world that everybody sees?
I mean, I definitely think there's got to be a connection. Vibes don't lie. And I think because I grew up in such a wild, like my upbringing was not conventional at all, and it was crazy and it was chaos. And my mom was like, not the best mother. I think I can read people really well. Like I, I almost want to say if you spot it, you got it. Like if I know there's a liar there because I can be a liar, or I know there's a manipulator there because I can be a manipulator. Like
Yeah,
I had to survive. So I
yeah,
think definitely I can pick up on energies. And for me now, like maybe, in the beginning of my career, it would be like how many followers you might have. Oh my God, I would get like so stunned, or you get a little starstruck, right? You're like, oh, this person, or, maybe even like a celebrity. Oh my God, you're like a celebrity, whatever. But I think as you get older, you really just want to enjoy the people that you're around and the people that show up for you constantly. And the ones that support you, and I mean the people you just feel safe around, you know, like I
Mm,
have friends that I sit with and I could just be there and I could just not even talk to them and just sit with them. And I think that's like more fun. Or the friends that want to help you, whether it's, you know, help you like with your business or help you like watch your dog. Like it doesn't have to be big things. I think like at this point, I get starstruck, but it has to be like Serena Williams, you know, like, like, you know, I don't really care about
exactly.
how many followers you have. Um, you know, and people that do have a lot of followers that come to my class and support me, I respect that and I love that. And if they do something, I always support them back with that, right? I'll post for them and support them in that way.
Mm,
But there's no prerequisite to be my friend, you know, like I just like people who are honest, who are good people and who I vibe with, you know.
mm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Would you say, so you mentioned a few things, the things that you've had to overcome. Um, and what would you say like the biggest thing that in order to become this woman that we get to know today, like what was the one thing, well, besides the addiction that you had to overcome in order to really step into a higher power of yourself?
I mean, I guess just when you realize your life isn't working, right? I mean, I
Mm,
think when you're young, you can kind of blame it on everybody else but yourself. And then when you reach that like rock bottom where you realize that you actually are the problem and like this just isn't working and you're kind of killing yourself slowly by doing other things. Like, I mean, now you couldn't pay me to like even get in a tanning bed. I'm like, I need to live forever, you know? like I don't even want to drink bad electrolytes. Somebody posted my electrolytes I've been drinking. Apparently they're bad. I'm like, you know, we want to live forever, right? But in my 20s, I would do stuff every day to just like kill myself. I didn't give a fuck. Like,
mm.
I mean, I don't even want to tell it because I don't know if this podcast needs to hear the things that I've done.
It's
I
real
mean,
and
but
raw. You can talk about whatever
yeah,
you
I
want.
mean, just like dumb stuff. Oh, you found blow at space? Awesome. Let me take it. I don't know whose it is. Like,
Yeah.
fentanyl, did that even exist 10 years ago? I don't know. But, you know, it's like whatever I
Mm,
could do to kill myself, I would. I just hated myself, you know? And not
mm,
kill myself as in like it doesn't have to be like a suicide note and an overdose. It was just like every day living a life that was slowly just like killing my spirit, killing my insides, and just like making me hate myself. And every day you get deeper in it and you're like, oh, tomorrow's going to be different. And it's not. It's probably worse, you know, and then maybe you have 10 minutes of fun and then you're back to where you started. So
mm,
I think when I realized that it just wasn't working for me, I mean, I can blame everybody. I can tell you like points in my childhood that I know like affected probably the trajectory of whatever. But when I get to where I am now, I wouldn't take any of that away because it made me who I am. It made me this person that like, you know, can command a room and like is just so likable in some senses. And you know, I rarely ever feel uncomfortable with certain things like with speaking, I mean, and like being in a room. I can usually normally connect with people and enjoy people's presence because, you know, I just had that in my life. I always had to be that, you know, I always had to be that person. So um and it made me strong. It made me resilient. It made me like people tell me no 3 times, I'm still gonna keep trying. You know what I mean? It made me like who I am. It made me a fighter. So I
mm,
definitely think it's cool. I always think about my daughter in this situation because she lives a completely different life than I did, right? So I got sober when she was probably like 3 or 4. So she didn't see, you know, what if I wasn't present in some senses, I don't think she would even remember it or know. But you know, she has everything she wants and she has everything handed to her all the time. So she doesn't necessarily have a fight. She doesn't care if people don't like her. Like if I tell her to say hello to someone, not that she's rude, but like when I was a kid, I would be like, oh my God, like, yeah, I'd put on a show. I'd do the Jackson 5 for you right here because I wanted you to love me so bad, you know? And it's just like different. It's like, you know, she just doesn't have the same bulldog or the same fight. And sometimes it's frustrating because I'm like, girl, you need to have this, but you want better for your children, you know, so they're not you. And I think that what I've been through has definitely made me, but I think ultimately the change had to come from me.
mm. Taking that personal responsibility. What would you
Yeah.
say to to somebody that or like what was the first step like with that process? And I had a conversation with somebody the other days. It's like, yeah, you talk about the extremes. I come from addiction myself and been suicidal a few times. And like, people don't see what's on the other side. They look at you like, oh, you just have it all together. You've never been through this and this unless you're vocal about it. But like, what was that making those necessary changes? Like, what would you say like the first step that would help somebody like just create that first step in starting to like themselves and starting to love themselves and starting to like their life or love their life?
Yeah. I mean, it took so much, right? It took so much to get here. It is crazy because I'm sure if somebody like flashed saw me right now, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, she has everything she wants," or like think that everything was great. But I mean, it took a lot of work. I mean, mine started with addiction, so I know there's other things out there that can cause people to have depression and anxiety and blockages or whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest block was the addiction, which obviously the addiction was just a symptom of what the actual problem was, which was me. So I mean, I definitely think therapy. I think talking to people. I think finding someone that you can talk to. The one cool thing about the world that we live in now is there's so much research source out there. Like, I mean, I just love the fact that I can go on TikTok and learn what a love bomber is because I was dating love bombers my whole 20s. So
I don't even know
like
what's
you
a love bomber?
it's someone who like loves you immediately and gives you a bunch of gifts and then eventually they're just a fraud. But like
Oh.
there's so yeah, look that one up. It's a narcissist. It's
I was
good.
gonna
It's
say
good.
that sounds like a narcissist. Like that's what
Yeah.
it
But
sounds
even
like.
like that, like I dated narcissists
Yeah.
my whole 20s and had no idea what I thought I was, and obviously I was going through certain things too, but I think like talking to someone, therapy is going to be huge. For me, it was AA. I went to AA for like 4 years and there were times where I went every day and I don't know why, but you just keep going and it doesn't make sense and you know um eventually, you get sober and things get good. If you remove the substance that you're dealing with, if it is a substance issue, if you remove that issue, your life will potentially get better just because you will stop spending money on alcohol. You will stop sleeping with people you don't want to. You'll stop fighting people. You'll stop breaking your phone. You'll like everything that's been happening that you think is not because of alcohol will stop. You'll lose like 5, 10 pounds. Everybody will say you look good. You know what I mean? So I think it was like mine was definitely alcohol, but then once I got to that point where I stopped choosing alcohol, then I had to deal with my issues, which trauma. We got lots of trauma.
Hmm.
And
Well,
forgiving yourself.
oh yeah, big time. So now moving to the future. Oh, well, I know you got a little one come along the way, so
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
Uh,
scared. I'm scared. Pray for me.
I will. You're gonna have an amazing whole trimester and birthing process, and
Thank you.
you're gonna be the best ever. Like,
Thank
you're
you.
gonna be led and guided. So this next season and chapter in your life, who do you have to become? Like if you're like reverse engineering, I don't know if you think that far ahead or at least like a little bit ahead, like with taking on these new responsibilities is like having your second child and also being a teacher of teachers and your teacher training. And I don't know what other visions or goals that you have. I know you started your YouTube platform. So even if you guys are
Yeah.
just starting to get
Trying
your
to
life together, you're now serving people at higher levels for free on YouTube. So you can subscribe to her on YouTube. But like who do you have to become in this season of your life?
I don't know, Star 2.0. Because I'm a little worried we're going to have no sleep because there's going to be a baby. So we're already starting on a negative, right? I'm going to be cranky Star. No, I mean, I'm excited. I I didn't really get to experience like I experienced my daughter's birth. Like I experienced having my daughter, but I experienced having her alone. And it was tied to like her dad not wanting to have the baby. And I remember like not even telling my job until like it was clearly noticeable. And And I was just in denial the whole time. And it was almost like, it was just like such a trauma thing that even telling people now, like I announced what a couple weeks ago, and getting all that love, it was overwhelming. Like I didn't know what to
Mm.
do. Like it was like, I don't even know how to be, I didn't know how to be happy, but I'm happy. But it was like weird for me to be happy because I had associated with such a bad experience before. Um, Also, I was young and it was just different. It was just really different. And this pregnancy has been the exact opposite. It's been fun. We're shooting content. Starr went to the appointments yesterday. Other Starr, my husband's name is Starr too. I
Oh,
think my dog's
nice.
dreaming.
I know. I'm like, you got another baby over there
Yeah,
too.
my dog is like dreaming. He's like in the fields flying away. Um, so yeah, it's been a completely different experience. So I think just being, a new version of myself, but managing and tasking even more. I don't even know. Star 2.0. My daughter's in high school, so also like making sure I'm not leaving her out because I need to, get her ready for college and
Hmm.
hope that she's still my babysitter too.
I was gonna
Um,
say you got a babysitter, maybe.
right, right. I want to keep teaching. I want to keep doing the trainings. I want to keep the YouTube going. I mean, I definitely want to just help more moms too. Now that I'm actually in it for the second time, um, it's different, and I want to like really help moms as much as I can.
That's so beautiful. And so like, I think sometimes I don't know about you, it sounds like you're this very similar to me is like, when you're going through things, especially when you've overcome so much like chaos and trauma, like you just focus on like one foot in front of the next and you're like, I don't really know.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
I know is I just got to keep
I'm
stepping
going.
somewhere
Yeah, yeah.
forward.
Yeah. And then that's the thing though. I'm trying like this year I really was trying to not only just like let destiny happen, but also take control of my destiny,
Mm,
Because I'm very fortunate in the fact that these things happen. Like, look, you hit me up, you say you want to do a podcast. I'm like, let's do it.
I know.
I don't know what's going to come of this, but guarantee something will. I've done podcasts in the past and then I've got a Washington Post article or, you know, you just don't know what's going to come of stuff. And a lot of times, like, stuff just comes to me and
Mm.
it's great. So I'm really like, I've been like trying to utilize other people's help and, um, get like social media people and, maybe for YouTube, I need to probably do more ads and stuff. And, I'm trying to take a little bit more control over my destiny as well.
Yeah. Dr. Joe Dispenza said this. I don't know if you've heard of any of his stuff, but he's phenomenal. He helps a lot of people just like heal from the unhealable, from and through like meditation and really like honing into the visualization, strengthening that part of like the brain of the pineal gland. And there was something that he said in his book, like Becoming Supernatural, and it was like you have to fall more in love with your future than you do your past, because how often
Mm.
are we taking our past with us and carrying that heavy load and keep projecting it
I love
into
that.
our present future.
I
He's
love that.
phenomenal,
Yeah,
like his work. But
it's
I was
true. It's
like,
true.
when
I
I
don't
heard
think
that, I'm
I,
like, wow.
yeah, I only think about honestly, I can be honest with you. I don't think about my past that much until it comes to this when it's like, how did you
Mm,
get here? Um, I don't necessarily want to forget it too much because I don't want to ever go back to drinking. I need to remember a little bit of that drama, but yeah, I mean, the future is obviously where it's at, and every day just gets so bad. So every day is like it's just beautiful to wake up. It's beautiful to do absolutely nothing and just have a day. And it's beautiful to do 20 things and kill it. And it's beautiful to like, even on my worst day, you know, um, even on my worst day, I'm having fun. So it's just nice. I just,
what just
yeah.
popped up in my head is I remember you, because I do intentionally bring guests on. Like I see your story, I see you are who you are. I see like, like you're doing the damn thing called life and you're really working to become an extraordinary human being. And I remember this one, I don't know if it was a live or a post or something or a story, but like there was massive traffic over the bridge. Something happened, an accident. You had to make it to your
Full
pool
Pilates.
Pilates class, and your husband was with you, and you just pulled your bike out, and you biked like 10 miles and you're like, whatever, show's gotta go on, let's go. Like, I really like
I'm
her.
like, why didn't I leave? I sat in that traffic for 20 minutes. I should have left 30 minutes ago. Like, we had a bike the whole time.
You literally,
A
and
lot
you're
of
just like, bike
Yeah,
and
a lot of
go.
people resonated with that too, and really appreciated it because I spoke to some trainers after the fact, and they were like, you know what, I would have just canceled my class, and I'm like, and that class was a free class, like not that people wouldn't have gotten upset. Like at the end of the day, if you wake up at 8 o'clock and you're going to a class, whether it's free or you paid, but
Mhm.
it wasn't like it was a ticket thing where people had paid. It was a free
Yeah.
class, and I was like, you know what, I'm not letting y'all down. I'm coming.
Yeah, but that shows a lot too about character. And the next thing I wanted to ask is like, life is life and you can plan as much as you want, but there's going to be unexpected chaotic things that life is absolutely going to throw at you, and you have to make a decision on how you're going to take that curveball. And that's like with that question, I just remembered that I saw the image of you like grabbing your bike. I mean, not everybody has a bike in the back of the car, right? But like you happen to have a bike in the back of your car and you just go for it. And so like can you share with us like when life does get chaotic and you have to get laser focused, or you do have to get to that destination or that goal, like what do you do in those moments of like handling chaos?
I mean, I definitely have to write everything down, make a list. And I just try to like zero in on what needs to be done now, right? I used to get very upset when things wouldn't go my way because, when when you're trying to get sober, you're very used to routine and even in like business, being a trainer, everybody cancels every single day, and in the beginning it would like kind of upset me a little bit, but then I'm like, you know what, maybe this is a time that I can focus on something else, so I write a lot of lists just to make sure that I'm staying on top of my priorities. And then I personally like check them off or delete them from my notes or delete them from my calendar so I can also feel good about completing it. And it just, it helps me out. Um, but yeah, and then I just, like I always take the time to do something else productive. And some I shouldn't I feel like saying that sometimes sounds silly because sometimes you don't need to be productive. Sometimes you need to take a nap, you need to like just take care of yourself. But I
I
was
think
supposed to
that's
have a session
productive.
today. Yeah, that could be also productive too. I was supposed to have a session today. We didn't have a session. I was supposed to train and the trainer actually canceled on me, which was fine. But I knew I'm starting to get baby stuff sent. So I ended up like working a little bit in the other room. But then I knew I had my session with you at 4. And I was like, you
Mhm.
know what? I like set like a timer, like I'm only doing 30 minutes and then I'm gonna lay down for 30 minutes. Like I knew I needed that time too to like collect my head. Um, so I think just like not, oh, that's another thing I would do too, is I would schedule myself so freaking tight. Like I had to do 1,000 things, in a day. And I think like in the beginning, yeah, you probably do have to live like that because I had to live like that because I'm trying to make money, right? You're trying to make ends meet. Like you're living paycheck to paycheck. Um, but once I got to a place where I don't have to do that, I tried not to because sometimes you find yourself working yourself backwards, right? Like you're not actually going forward because, you're getting a speeding ticket because you're rushing there or, you're tired. So you're not as productive. So yeah, I just make lists and I try to make my life as like as easy as possible. you know, I don't take clients in Aventura. Not that I don't like Aventura, but it's an hour away. Why would I do that to myself? Like
Yeah.
I do what's realistic for me, and I show up
Mhm.
when I can. I don't commit to things that I can't go to. If I do commit, I show up. And I think yeah, lists are like my biggest thing. Is I do lists. I love lists.
Mm. I I like lists too. Well, that comes back into keeping focus, right? If there's so many things in life get so overstimulating. There's so many opportunities. The great thing about the time we live in is there's access to everything. And the downfall is there's access to everything. And a lot of people sometimes have a hard time with the completion. Even though you said like there's so many things and you're multi-passionate, you're very consistent, and you have, it takes a lot to build what you've built with your community and your online and your reputation at Mimi and Barry's, and like so that shows like track record. also, besides list building, is there anything else that helps you stay like focused and I guess like building? So if somebody's like building towards something that they want to be excellent in, was there like any skill sets that you had to establish?
Um, I mean, I constantly do stuff to better my skill sets. Like I want to be a good teacher. So, I'm constantly preparing myself. I'm always listening to like different music, or,
Mhm.
I've taken an acting class to be able to project myself
Oh,
more, to be able to talk. Yeah. Like get out of yourself, like, cause public speaking is like scary, So, um, things that seem scary to me, sometimes I try to do just to like teach myself something different. I also try to go to everything. I constantly am going to other people's classes, constantly going to events because I want to see and I want to learn. And I think people are our biggest teachers, So I constantly reach out to people to stay motivated in what I'm doing. I don't know. It's just like one day at a time for me. It really is. I hate to say it. And then the days add up and it becomes a routine. And you
yeah.
just like, stuff starts clicking, it just starts clicking. And when it clicks and I'm in my flow, that's like almost my meditation for me, is when
Hmm.
stuff's actually hitting, and you know the classes are full, and the clients are happy. I mean, they're every day is different. So I constantly have to stay up on my stuff, because there's a ton of fitness trainers in Miami. My clients could leave me. You have to do a lot of follow up. You have to constantly be there for people. You have to constantly stay relevant. So
Hmm.
I just think mine is like an inner grind. Um, I think that if anything good that you want is not gonna come easy. So you just have to figure out if you really want it and how
Yeah.
much time you're willing to put into it. Maybe you aren't willing to give something 4 years, but sobriety for me took like almost 4 or 5 years to actually figure out, to
Hmm.
actually figure it out and really want to do it. And I
Hmm.
still mess up. I still mess up, or I still think, oh, people are doing shrooms. Maybe I could do shrooms, or maybe I'll just do a little CBD. And the next thing you know, I'm taking CBD every day. Or maybe I'm not sad. I'm just spending all of my money.
Yeah.
Like, so I still figure out my shit. I hope I answered that for you.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to tell you because it's just something in me. Like I've always been like that, even with my daughter when I was a single mom. Like even when I was in my addiction, I think because I saw my mom struggle so much, that that's one thing about me that I have it in me. I'm not going to stop working. Um, you can't like you can know more than me. You can have more money than me. You can be prettier than me. You can look, you know, you can have everything, but you can't outwork me. Because
Yeah, you
I
can't
don't.
teach that for
You can,
sure.
it's like in me, I definitely think it was because how I was brought up. I think I
Mhm.
just, I'm a fighter, so I just keep going. But I do think, figure out how much time you're willing to invest, and set goals for yourself, and don't give up. Like nothing good comes easy.
Mhm.
You have to work at everything. Your body. I think honestly, fitness was the one testament that I was able to see that. Because once you start actually working out, like when you actually do your Pilates and you do the weight training and you mix the diet in with it, and you're actually good and you're focused, your body will change. But it doesn't change tomorrow. It
Yeah.
takes like 2 3 months. Sometimes it
Hmm.
takes, I
Or
mean,
more, like a
best more.
year.
It takes a year. My body's been changing. I mean, the last even my body's still changing. But I
Hmm.
think that's why fitness has been such a light for me, because you really see it. Like people who want it, their bodies will change. And it takes work, and it's every day. It's little
Hmm.
steps every day, Some
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
much stricter, so it's a shorter road. But
Hmm.
you can both get there the same way. You could do it little steps, or you can restrict everything and diet and be crazy, and you'll still get there. maybe shorter. And that's the thing too, is like sometimes those, like even when you're relating it to fitness, those binge diets and those crash diets, they don't last as long. The success doesn't last as long. So you almost need the struggles and the road and the story to get you there. I needed to not make berries. I needed to work at the desk. I needed to work at Nike. I needed to work in clubs. I needed my clients to see me with my daughter working at every single store on Purdy before I became their trainer. I mean, like, people have seen my struggle, so they see me, so they know, which is cool, and they respect me even more.
I think you inspire a lot of people by you actually doing it and showing it and being it. And you use such a great analogy of like fitness is, and I agree 100%. Like fitness is the foundation to everything because it, I mean, I would go into one of your classes or even in the gym or whatever. I'll go in, I'll come out a completely different person, like mentally, emotionally, psychologically. Might go in like angry or feeling like a little psycho kooky bird, and I always come out stable, confident, and empowered.
Yeah, you showed up for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's literally
That's
a
one of my
complete transition.
non-negotiables. I think that's definitely, sorry to cut you, but I definitely think that's one of my non-negotiables. I think even with my friends who I feel like are constantly struggling, or if they're going through something, I'm like, you have to make time for yourself. You have to work out. And I'm not saying you have to work out 7 days a week. I'm saying even 3 days is good, but you have to like have some non-negotiables in your life. And I think your body and your mind and movement is such medicine that,
Mhm.
like, and it doesn't have to be an intense workout. It could be stretching. It could be a walk. Walking is
Yeah.
so underrated, and everybody loves walking. And there's even like a hot girl walk movement and a walk
Oh, I didn't
mom
know
movement.
that.
And yeah, like everyone's doing. I got booked for 2 walks. I've done 2 walks where all you do is just walk. You just
Yeah.
talk and you meet people. Excuse me, sorry, I burp a lot with this pregnancy. But yeah, it's like, walking is even could just be your thing, even if you're just answering emails, but walking, like, you need to be moving. Your body needs to be
Mhm.
moving. I think it just helps you feel better.
Yeah, I mean, fitness alone is, I mean, it really does help change your mood and stabilize your emotions and your energy. Like that, it's and it's so reliable. That a huge advocate on fitness and training, especially with what you do, because I think it's now recently, especially after COVID, taken more serious as like a staple and a non-negotiable for like mental health. But before it wasn't, it was more of like a luxury than a necessity unless like
Right.
something bad happened to your health. But like it's so much more than that. And so what you do is it really is like very impactful for somebody's overall quality of life. So thank you for all that you do. I know you get appreciated, but let me
Thank
just
you. I
give you
appreciate it. No, I
give you
do.
your flowers.
Oh, thank you. I'll take them.
We've been going on. I hope you've been having fun and you listening have been really receiving so much value. I want to respect your time. If you were to give somebody one piece of insight or advice when it comes to just integrating something out of everything we talked about today for them to help them elevate their business, their mindset, and their life, like what would that one thing be?
I mean, honestly, I think you said it. You were talking about it. I think that manifestation, writing down exactly what you want, being super clear about it, and visualizing yourself in it, and then working towards those goals. So I knew I wanted to be a trainer. I hate to say this, I knew I wanted 10,000 followers. That was my goal. Or I think it was like 20. I
And
know on
now
a
you're
podcast
10x it.
now, I'm like, I need 4 million. You need, like, I mean, and that's the part that sucks, because when you reach these goals, you have to be good with yourself. But
Yeah.
be clear with what you want, visualize it, and work every day towards it. And goals don't have to be big or small. It could just be getting that certification, and then that certification turns into getting a class, and then that class turns into selling out a class, and then that selling out a class turns into owning a studio, and then owning a studio turns into creating a method, or like, I just think that you have to just know what you want. A lot of times we don't know what we want, and I think you need to be very specific about what you ask the universe for, because I think the universe will deliver, especially if you're consistent, but you need to be specific about it.
Amen to that. Well, Thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you, everybody, for sharing your time and your energy with us. The whole point of this show is to help you elevate your business, your mindset, and your life. Enjoy the show.